Rodriguez says the suspect tore off the screen to her window, opened her window, and then made his way inside her home. I spoke to one business owner who says it's not unusual for customers to come inside of her store, pick up an item, and literally try and walk out of the door with it. Right in this area behind me is where 2 Chickasha officers were shot and a man was still barricaded inside a home. At the College Apartments is where Fairtade was shot in his arm and chest and later died at Comanche County Memorial Hospital. If you take a look down here, there's also some slush. I'm making a puddle with my feet. You guys can kind of see how cold and icy it is. I spoke to a mechanic today who warned drivers that have to travel in weather conditions like this. He said there's a couple steps you need to take. One is to make sure that you defrost your windows and your door handles just like this. I'm standing outside Lawton Animal Welfare, but that is not where the dog was found. And while the parking lot is empty right now, I can tell you it was a different story this morning. I saw many people pulling up only to leave frustrated after noticing this sign. Temperatures are continuing to drop. It's much colder than when we first seen you guys. People are still trying their luck on the roads. Take a look just right out here. This is Cash and 38th. I'm down here at New Vision Theaters at Lawton Central Mall, and everyone just lined up for the first showing of episode 8. I was lucky enough to grab a fan before he walked in. This is Jesse Pena. Jesse, tell me, what are you looking forward to the most in this episode?
I'm looking forward to seeing the potential that Rey has to become a Jedi.
Okay, and what's your favorite character?
C-3PO.
All right, and show us a little bit of your moves. Hey now, watch out. Uh-oh. All right, you guys, I'm going to hang out with Jesse for a little bit longer. If the number of students and teachers out for the cold and flu increases, they will have to take measures to curb the outbreak. Brandon and Heather Harris were high off meth in this house behind me. Since this morning, I spoke to fire officials and police on what happened. Take a look around me. You can see damage and debris on the ground. Good morning, Texoma. Thank you for waking up with 7 News. I'm Chelsea Floyd. 49 states reporting widespread flu activity and more than half of the country classifying it as high. The Wichita County Sheriff's Office is investigating a double murder.
You can see someone walking around the house, looking around. He has a flashlight. He's looking out the windows.
Christy Rodriguez says she and her boyfriend have lived in the home for about a year. She says they've never had any trouble until last night. Right here's where Rodriguez says the suspect tore off the screen to her window, opened her window, and then made his way inside her home. Rodriguez says they would have never known had they had not checked the surveillance video.
Normally it's just, me walking around or my boyfriend or the dogs or something, but I just see this random man coming from the hallway looking around in the kitchen. He's got a flashlight, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, there was someone in the house.
She says she's not sure who the suspect is, but her grandmother who lives next door says she has seen the man before.
She's seen him walking back and forth around the neighborhood. During the evening times, he's always carrying things, going back and forth.
She says although he didn't steal anything, her concern is that he may be watching them and planning to come back later.
We were a little paranoid last night. We made sure everything was locked and secure. We got alarms for all the windows now. We have the camera.
They're still investigating on what exactly happened. If you take a look behind me, you can see some of the trucks they used today, and they also had to go down this field to see exactly where the train got off track. And thankfully, officials did tell me no one was injured. About 20 contract workers with railroad crosslines started the process of reconstructing the railroad, cleaning up rock and aggregates that were inside the derailed train cars.
They'll start to re-rail the cars that are derailed and clear a path.
Stillwater Central Railroad General Manager Jimmy Patterson requested heavy equipment trucks, 400 railroad ties, and 9 rails just to get the track restored. He says that is their biggest priority for one reason.
We have a customer that's at the end of this line. Until we get this track back in service, we can't get to them to get them the cars they need.
Patterson says since the derailment happened at the end of the railroad line, no other trains will be affected. However, in the meantime, he asked for the community's patience while they restore the railroad.
Once we get the materials unloaded, we'll be off the roads and out of the way, and all of our work will take place in the middle of a field somewhere.
Superintendent Roxy Terry told me that this week they noticed nearly 75 student absences just at the elementary school and 9 staff members out sick due to cold and flu-related illnesses.
When you're talking the numbers, we're talking almost 70 elementary kids out of a school that only has about 213 kids in it. It's time to do something drastic.
Terry says having so many people sick affects the learning process for students. He says for the next 4 days, the kitchen and custodial staff will have the opportunity to clean thoroughly.
What they did is they sectioned off each section of school, and they're going through it with the bleach wipes and all the disinfectants and all that, and then opening doors and windows, letting them air out real well.
Terry made the decision to close last night, saying this is the first time the district has ever closed for flu-related illnesses. Parents and students were notified about the closure via text message. Besides having the time off class and work, he says more importantly, students and faculty members will have the time to get well.
Let the teachers and the students stay home in their own environment so that they can get well and healthy, because I think one of our biggest problems is kids were coming back to school while they were still sick.
If your child has the flu, Terry says this is the time to keep them home and away from other kids.
That's the whole purpose for this, is to try to stop this flow, and we sure hope it works, but anything that we can do to try to make it safe for our kids.